Hey, this is Austin. I'm calling from Kentucky, but it's actually a bit of a Florida story.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Sorry, a little nervous. Been a big fan for a long time.
You're doing great.
Great, thank you. So I was part of Model United Nations in college. I went to the University of Florida. So I met a lot of kids who were kind of trying to be the next generation of Florida politicians. And there's a lot of money that's in that school system from right-wingers trying to get control. So there's this one kid I want to tell a story about, very involved in politics. You know, you look at his LinkedIn and it's just, you know, since high school doing like campaigns for Trump or local Republican senators or whatever. Type of kid who gets kicked out of like frats for being too big of a drinker, too big of a degenerate, but still somehow gets like congressional internships. But long story short, I've known this kid, do not like him. He posted an article that he got on the Miami Herald, and he's talking, you know, why economic issues turned like the median voter away from Kamala Harris. And he kind of cosplays as this centrist, I'm just a dude, my gas is too expensive, and that's why I didn't vote for Kamala. And so I know this kid, so I called him out on it in the DMs, being like, hey, why are you like lying? Like, we know who you are. And even to me, someone who's seen him, you know, argue in person for right-wing rhetoric, continues to lie to me. No, it's actually a nonpartisan group I work for. It's actually a nonpartisan group that paid me to write this article, you know, slandering the Democrats. So I kind of wanted to use that story as a jumping off point to see if you think it's a good strategy that right-wingers are using to kind of hide their affiliation, lie about their affiliation. Oh, no, we're just common sense. Oh, you know,
of course.
I'm a centrist.
Oh, yes. I mean, look, the right-wingers ultimately will do this type of thing because they know fundamentally the essence of their politics are unpopular. And so they will say that they're being centrist. They will hide much of their agenda. They will validate their agenda by sort of using sometimes like, liberals and centrists as cover. This is what you do, without a doubt.
And caller, when you brought up nepotism or like that kind of, maybe it wasn't nepotism that you said, but I thought you were going to refer to.
It's nepotism, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the story of University of Florida from over the weekend was, I didn't know, so Marco Rubio's son is on the team there, right? I guess it's like a six string running back or something like that. Marco played too. Marco, he did play. Apparently that's a thing where a lot of these college football programs, deep on the depth chart, they'll hire the sons of people that they want favorable treatment for from the university. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside to what you were saying.
No, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, I have so much experience with that kind of money running into like Florida. Like, I don't know if any of you saw the story. This was when I was in school like 2 years ago. Our president was replaced by Ben Sass, I think he was a Nebraskan senator.
And he just extracted so much money out of that school. Hired all his buddies and paid out millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and then there's also so much money. Like I remember seeing a pamphlet like my freshman year that was from TPUSA directly saying, you know, and schools like University of Florida are where we want to put money into their, like, you know, the school president like races. And I was wondering, you know, what do you think is a way to combat that? Because we don't have obviously the funding on the left wing to, you know, fund activist groups or make sure like good politicians are getting a start. But I don't know, is there any grassroots way you think of combating that at the level? Because it's a whole lot of money.
Are you talking about within colleges, or are you talking just in general?
Yeah, specifically in colleges, it seems like they're, you know, like Project 2025, they're trying to get those minions from day one so they're loyal, you know, when they hit 40 and they're, you know, middlemen and the government or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think starting organizations and
young DSA
is and joining those organizations. I mean, starting if there isn't one there, joining them if they're not, and then in some ways you can, if you can't come up with other ways of getting your message out, whether it's, I don't know what happens on college campuses anymore these days, but
Yeah, you use your heads in the sand.
I'm not hanging out on college campuses as much as I used to, although more than I have been recently, obviously, because my daughter's going. But parties, speakers, I don't know, sell cookies with, a QR code on it to go to a site with information about issues. I don't know. There's all sorts of different.
Are you hungry, Sam?
I am now.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but it seems almost like pointless when there's a whole system of money that's going to churn out. When the kids flip 4 years, you may radicalize a junior to, not join something or whatever, but when there's money that's going to go and there's a new fresh set of faces,
listen,
I could talk about the intricacies of this.
If money was going to be the determinant factor, this fight would have been over a long time ago.
Yeah, they need the money for the enthusiasm, to generate the enthusiasm.
The advantage that you will have is that fundamentally your ideology is to the benefit of more people, and their money is to make up for that deficit that they have in their ideology.
Yeah.
And so you can't get discouraged by that. It is without a doubt, it is a 2-step forward, 1 step back, sometimes 1.5 steps back process. And right now we're in an era of a 1.5 step back.
March back.
And so, but don't get discouraged. History says that, things change.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I would just love to see some sort of framework on the left wing to combat the kind of, they're trying to set up systems and institutions. So they stay in power at every lever. And, that's just the experience.
Money helps you do that.
It's everywhere.
Money helps you do that. But, it really, I mean, to quote Ryan Grimm, quoting, I think, AOC, we got people.
Mm-hmm.
So, good luck. Keep us updated.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you taking the call. Big fan, and big respect for you for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Happy New Year. First caller of the year.
It's going to be a better year.
I hope so. Calling from a 404 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Only up to go.
Hello, is this me?
Yes.
Yeah, could I remain anonymous?
Anonymous?
I have a story.
From where?
Yeah, could I, from Atlanta. I have a.
Can we pick a name? Just a fake name?
Bob.
Okay, Bob from Atlanta.
Yeah. So this is related to the H-1B story. I know there's a lot of talk right now about the H-1B story, but I think a bigger issue right now is probably offshoring. A couple of years ago, unfortunately, I work in the tech industry, and unfortunately, I got laid off at the company I was working at. Before they laid us off, basically, the day they laid us off, we all just showed up to work, and 90% of us basically did not have access to our computer when we showed up to work, and we just got an email saying we were let go, and then 10% of us got another email, and we were put into another call saying that we would be given the opportunity to stay a little bit longer and train our replacements. And they would be giving a bunch of our jobs to people in Latin America. And I've heard of this happening to a lot of other people, where it seems like companies are realizing, like, with like a lot of jobs being able to be done like on the computer, they can basically just hire people.
What kind of job was it?
This was a software engineering job.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think this is like also like a bigger issue, and I think it goes totally like under the radar, and there's like no laws, you know, against it. And and I think the H-1B thing, I think is just like tiny compared to this.
I think it is, but it's a similar dynamic, right? I mean, it is a way of suppressing, or it has the impact of suppressing wages. But the idea of outsourcing the jobs is that, like, these people living in these other countries don't have the earning power, the protection of being in this country legally. But yeah, outside, this is when we talk about, like, you know, capital being able to move, but labor not being able to. This is part of it, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It wasn't that the definition of one of the definitions of fascism you offered, Matt, and I think you've been alluding to it.
I think it's like, if you hold both of those views, I don't know how you can develop into anything else other than a fascist. Just the way that the world works.
That capital can move across borders freely, but labor cannot.
But labor needs to be violently suppressed.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful to view fascism of that, like, in this current particular moment, right? Because there's like that's how it's essentially manifesting, and you could also talk about fascism as colonial slaughter turned inward in some of the more extreme examples. But it's also going to be about high levels of militarism, nationalism, and scapegoating groups in particular as capitalists and moneyed people use the government for their aims, for greed. So
appreciate the call. I mean, that would be interesting to see if there was, like, ever a movement to have legislation where you can't outsource those jobs. I mean, honestly, I mean, if they, like, that would be the first place you would start.
It's funny, like, he says, like, it's not mentioned much. And you look in the 90s, and I'm reading a book, I'll get the reference to it in a while, but, like, that was the main thrust and concern, and their response was, well, we'll just educate people that lose their jobs overseas.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.